I wanted to talk about work from home. So the WFH in the sign up in the corner. Let's see, am I pointing the right way yet? Nope, wrong way. Over in this corner. The WFH is not like WTF misspelled. It's work from home. Key moments in stepping up. So what the hell did I want to talk about? Let me pull up my notes. But really, look, a couple things. Tonight in particular, I am not speaking for Amazon or Twitch. I'm speaking for me because I spent the weekend thinking about this stuff, plus some of today. Second, we were going to be live on LinkedIn, but I thought that was the config problem. Turns out the config problem is being too silly to plug your laptop back in. Third, we're not going to do a question of the week, but we do have a drink of the day. It's limoncello. Unfortunately for me, because it was so frustrating, it's mostly gone now. Obviously, why am I talking about work from home? Hey, Liger Bucks. There's Liger, like right on cue. I'm talking about it because here in Washington State, where I'm based in Seattle, we've had 18 cases of coronavirus show up and 6 people have died. So right now, although this is in no way representative and Liger will fill us in, right now in Washington, for acknowledged cases, there's a 33% fatality rate. Electricity said something here. By the way, if you want to ask questions about working from home, start putting them in to our Q&A tool, and we will get to them because I'm going to talk about that. But, and there are none there right now. So, no questions at the moment, but you can ask questions. And we have our mods here to approve them, and we'll talk about them. So look, I want to see what this comment is. Manager said he would call me if he thought I was a good fit. I did the interview over the phone. I didn't like it because I'm kind of an in-person person. Yeah, phone interviews you have to get good at. The topic tonight, though, is working from home. And then it's going to be key moments and stepping up. So why do I want to talk about work from home? I think a lot of us... there are some schools closed around here. I think if we look, Japan closed all their schools, for example, and I know a lot of you are students. And so you may be in a remote learning situation real quick. Some offices, more people, maybe even all people will be working from home. I don't know. That depends on the spread of the virus and how people react to it. But yeah, so whoever, I haven't met you before, I don't think, Tethless, but somebody here is commenting in stream. I work in Redmond. We were told to stay home if we feel we needed to. And Hephaestus says, yes, this could quickly become the biggest work from home or remote work experiment ever. And so and people are putting in some good questions about remote work, which I love. Here's the point, though. You may find yourself suddenly working from home when that wasn't what you used to do or what you normally do. And more importantly, if you work in an office with a team like I do, my whole team goes to the office. Right now, we're still going to the office. But if you suddenly have to work with a whole team that's normally in an office, not in an office, and that's going to happen for an extended period of time, tonight I have 2 topics. One topic is how to make that work. Sorry, there's one other thing I want to do over here. All right, done on Discord. I'm going to hide that window so I don't look at it. Look, it's also a chance to step up. And this is what I want to talk about, key moments, for a minute. Anytime there's a change in your work environment, and it could be from something like this with a disease or a disruption in transportation or even a big snowstorm, it could be a reorganization, it could be a budget drop, a budget change, it could be all kinds of stuff. And the point I want to make is you can have all kinds of things change in your work environment, and those changes represent opportunity. So I'm going to talk more about work from home, but then the thing I really want to talk about is how work from home is just an example of a chance that is a key moment when you can be recognized for stepping up and why those matter. So topic 1 is going to be work from home. Topic 2 is going to be the chance to step up. And we're skipping a lot of the traditions tonight because I squirreled away 30 minutes of broadcast playing with my equipment and didn't mean to. And you take that any way you want. I'm in a mood. Number 2, I really want to hit these topics, and it was on my mind. I want to be informal. So, working from home or working remotely, it's not the same thing as a day off, and it's not an excuse to F off. So, it's very natural that if you suddenly can work from home and you didn't used to be able to, or you get a chance to, that your first thought is, wow, am I going to do so many things around the house? And some people work well from home and are super productive, and that's how it should be. No distractions. And some people take it as a chance to watch Netflix and do all kinds of things they shouldn't. Basically, do all kinds of stuff that shouldn't be a distraction to them. But they get into being distracted. And don't do that, right? I want to point out, like, work from home. Sean123 manages some people. The biggest issue I notice working from home is that everyone else does not understand that just because I'm home, I am still working. Absolutely. That is completely true. A lot of people with families, I actually had an employee, he worked from home, but he still sent his son to childcare. Because he was like, look, yes, I work remotely. He was in Dallas and our office was in DC. You can't work from home and not work. And so you have to have a work environment and a work mindset. Now, does that mean you can never take a delivery at your door? Or sometimes when I work from home, I do laundry because it's like, throw it in the machine, press the button, go back to work. That took 60 seconds. Throw it in the next machine, press the other button. That took another 60 seconds. 2 hours later, I take a 10-minute break to fold stuff. Yeah, you can get away with that because you have long blocks of uninterrupted time and you can like finish a meeting before you have to go move stuff from one machine to another. But if you're going to be good at working from home, here are the key elements. 1, you have to actually work. 2, communication. As a boss, I will tell you, until you establish your reputation with me as someone I can trust to work from home, I'm wondering, Sarah's working from home. How's that going to work out? Will she be productive or not? And if you communicate with me, I'm your direct boss in this case, not 3 levels up. That's not what I mean. If you show productivity and you're in the meetings and you're engaged and you're doing work, I become super impressed. And like, here's somebody who's delivering. If you're half absent and I don't see the work output, I become suspicious. And pretty soon, we're having the discussion, Sarah, I think you need to come in more until we establish your work track record and your productivity. The point is, it's up to you how disciplined you are and what your output is, but also understand, are 9 to 5 hours necessary when working from home? No. Getting your work done is necessary. And that's all that's necessary. Core hours, as Plus David said, and I'm glad he dropped in because, of course, I was talking to him about how I broke the damn stream because I'm a fool. And even now, the laptop's struggling because I drained the battery while I was messing around, and now I'm running it hard. I just plugged it in. But that's okay. The point is, on work from home, people need to know when you'll be available and how to reach you. So that's another point. If you need to run out over lunch, it's no different than when you run out over lunch at work. It's no different. But what is different is if you go out to lunch during work and people saw you in the office all morning and all afternoon, they assume you ran an errand over lunch or you went out to eat. if they try and reach you at home during lunch and they can't reach you and don't know how to find you, they assume you're screwing off. And I just want to be real clear. People have suspicious mindsets because some people take advantage of work from home arrangements and do them poorly. And so in those circumstances, it makes managers suspicious. And that's not all managers, and it's not everything. But I'm trying to tell you how to be successful, because some of your and some of us, me, for example, we may be working from home more in the very near future, or as life evolves, more and more people are going to work remotely, whether they're in a remote office or not. Doing it well matters. And the point is, it's easy for people to be suspicious of you if they can't see you work. If you're suddenly going to have a chance to work from home, this is actually the topic we're going to talk about most of the time. I'm going to answer a couple questions about working from home, but the key is anytime your business, your workplace, your profession, your school has a change, a crisis, a surprise, a new reorganization, a new boss, you have a fresh chance to make a first impression. And so this is, I haven't even said what the drink is. Yes, 40 Pink Dragons. I would take more. Tonight's cocktail was limoncello. And so if this glass magically gets more limoncello in it, I will drink it. All right, look. The point is, we're talking about how to work from home, and then we're going to talk about, though, the chance to reset your career. So there were a couple questions here. The first one I'm going to answer is, do you have any tips for building relationships with fully remote employees? Yes, absolutely. 1, have a plan, work on it. 2, if you can, visit them live. Spend a little time with them, eat a meal with them. But I know you said fully remote, and I'm cheating. If it's like, oh, they're remote, well, first thing, go visit them or have them fly in to your office. Those things are true. Nothing beats face-to-face. But if you're not able to do that, building relationship is still as easy as establishing trust and getting to know them as people. So normally on this stream, every week we do the question of the week, and we do Arthur Aaron's 36 questions that build relationships. Building relationships with someone comes down to sharing some of yourself with them and asking honest questions about their lives and getting them to engage and respond. But you can't be like, hey, I want to have a relationship with you. I want to ask invasive personal things so I know more about you. That won't work. Instead, you have to talk about work, establish trust around that, and then share some of yourself. But the key is you have to be genuinely interested in the employee as an employee, yes, but also as a human being. So are you interested in them as a person? Building a relationship effectively is asking questions. Is the mention about giving a good first impression implying that work from home gives a bad first impression? No. It's implying that anytime there's a major change in your work environment, it's a free opportunity. Yeah, Front Fryer, you have it right. Arthur Aaron, if you Google exactly what you wrote, Arthur Aaron 36 questions, you will find the list I'm talking about. Harris 5, I don't know. Is freelancing the future of work? I don't know yet. And we did get more limoncello. So that's tonight's drink of the week, or drink of this week. And that's good because I need it. Oh, hey, T-Wordo3. Thank you, everybody, for jumping in, by the way, after all the stream disaster earlier. I had user error, which I won't mention again, setting up the stream and lost half an hour. So what I want to talk about, we'll answer the rest of these questions on remote work if you vote them up. But I want to talk a minute about this topic, the bigger topic behind working from home in this situation, about key moments and stepping up. So look, all through your career, it's good to work hard and work well and be consistent. It's valuable. Do it every day. Do something valuable every day. See all my other streams and you'll hear me talk about doing valuable work every day. Great. There are times when you have a chance to make a key impression, and those times essentially are times of change or crisis. So, thank you, Banhammer. I like the fact you enjoy the new emotes. We added those. That's the rant emote. And I've kind of done part of the rant of the week already, that working from home isn't a day off. But key moments. Whenever something changes in your environment, there's an opening to make a new first impression, to be remembered for your behavior in that circumstance. And that's what tonight's stream is really about. Because let's say your business or your school or wherever you are, in this case, ends up advising that people work from home who previously haven't, or that a whole team work from home because of coronavirus fears. And I don't know if that'll happen for you or not. I'm not here to debate if that's a right reaction or not. We have Ligerbox in stream, or he was, who deals with real coronavirus cases in Singapore. I'm not here to debate, is it a good idea to how public health should be managed. And to be real clear, as I always am, I'm not speaking for Twitch or Amazon anyway. But what is true is, let's say your whole team is suddenly sent to work from home, or encouraged to, or allowed to. There now is a new moment where your teammates and your manager and everyone around you, your boss if you're in a startup, if you're the boss, people are going to watch you, are going to evaluate you in a new context where there is no previous context for, is Ethan good at working from home? And believe me, they're going to do that. They're going to look at you, whatever your name is and wherever you are, they're going to look at you and say, Fred, Julie, this person is good at working from home or not. And actually, they're better, they're smarter, they're faster, they're reliable, they communicate well, or they're worse. They don't seem to be available. They don't seem to be getting very much done. People in chat can tell me, I wish if I'd had more time, I would have looked this up on Snopes. There's this idea that I have heard, it's probably a meme, but it might be real, that like the character in Chinese for danger and opportunity, or risk and opportunity, are the same. And so whether or not that's true, it makes a good thought, because opportunities are both risk and risks are opportunities. Change is a case of opportunity. Anytime something in your work happens, like a crisis, a budget change, a boss change, a snowstorm, a service outage, the people who step up get new opportunities. So, Liger, thank you for spelling it out. It's really chance. So what are all the ways? Is it true that the character for chance is also used to represent opportunity? I guess you're saying if you have a chance, there's a chance it can go good or well or badly, which is correct. The point I'm making is anytime there's a change in your work environment, you can either do better work and be remembered for it, or do worse work and be remembered for that. So the key point from tonight's stream is not really about working from home. It's about recognizing that when changes happen, there's a moment where you can make a new impression. And if you make better impressions at those key moments, your career will accelerate. So when this is your chance, at these moments, managers are looking for the people who go the extra mile, have the new idea. If you're working from home, for example, they're looking for the person who organizes the meetings or takes and distributes the minutes or starts the Google Doc where everyone who's suddenly remote can edit in parallel, or suggests the new tool and says, look, we're remote and we don't have a good chat tool. Let's all use Slack. Let's all use this. Let's all do that. They're looking for the people who are part of the solution. Conversely, the last thing they want in a change are the people who are part of the problem. So all the people in chat are exactly pointing this out because I ask about the whole Chinese character myth, about how the character for opportunity and disaster or whatever are the same. You're exactly pointing out that it's two-sided. But what I want to point out to you guys as I coach you in your careers is you can choose which side of that you come down on, and it doesn't take that much, and it comes down to attitude, which is, are you going to be there's some sort of crisis. We're all going to work from home because there's a plague or there's a snowstorm, or we all have to work all night because a service is down. Or I'll give you one. Some of you know at TwitchCon, a couple years ago, we had bad lines outside, and I grabbed a bunch of people and we ran outside to go try and help people in the lines, to direct traffic, to speed them up, simply to apologize because people were waiting in the hot sun in San Jose. And that TwitchCon got nicknamed LineCon. The point is, the employees who came out and walked the line were remembered and stood out. And they made an impression on the fans who were attending TwitchCon, but also on the leaders. Because without naming names, there were a couple of people who were kind of like, well, that isn't really my problem. Like, that belongs to this other department. The point is, when there's a challenge, some people step up and some don't, and that gets remembered. So I'll go back to answering questions now because I see you guys have voted up a lot of things, and I love that. So please keep voting things up. But I keep repeating myself because it's so important. Learn to recognize these key moments where something changes at your work or at your school, and you can make a new first impression or a new type of impression. And all you have to do is be part of the solution and positive rather than part of the problem. If you're part of the problem and there's a crisis and you're dragging your feet or not available or complaining or it's not the right time, solve the problem first, bring your concerns later, if at all possible. And in this potential work from home situation where a lot of people may suddenly be working from home for the first time, defer doing your laundry and instead be the person who's online organizing, helping, communicating, setting up the shared tools, volunteering, because that first impression you make is critical. A week later, if you've made the impression, wow, Rob is a superhero, he's all over, and then you're doing your laundry when someone calls and you miss a call, it'll be forgiven because it's already locked in people's minds. Rob immediately went the extra mile. He over-delivered. And Sam wasn't anywhere to be found. Now, a week later, Sam may be busting his butt. He's too late because you never get a chance to make a second chance to make a first impression. So Rob says availability is overrated. I don't know, but I picked his name to make him the hero. All right. That link should work on mobile, Black White Life. I don't know what's up if it's not. Okay. Question. Do you prefer if your staff join a virtual meeting via video call or audio dial-in only? You have asked me a preference question. I strongly prefer video. You get a lot more from people's facial expressions, and If people are audio only, you can't tell who's even there. So if you have a big team and half the people are audio only, you don't even know, at least on our systems and on a lot of systems, it's hard to tell who's even there, and it's hard to tell if they're paying attention. And so vastly, vastly prefer video, and I strongly recommend you use video. Audio is essentially old technology. It's kind of like asking, if you want to go somewhere fast, are you better off using a bicycle, audio, or a car? Video is the car, audio is the bicycle. And so I would strongly say, and you asked me a preference for my preference, but I think there's a good argument. Your communication is much more clear and you look present. Now, sometimes you need to dial in. The other problem with dial in is there's no easy way to make clear that you're there or that you have a question. You have to speak up. Whereas at our workplace on video, if someone wants to talk, they do this, right? They put up a hand just like in grade school, hey, I have something to say. But that way they get noticed. And so good things happen. All right. Well, Liger said ignore something. So now I'm super curious to read it. He's probably going to put that in his in the tool. I think when you work remote, you do have to make sure your work is noticed, because out of sight, out of mind. We'll talk. Well, if it got put in later, I'll go find it. But I think there's a thing about out of sight, out of mind. And unfortunately, if you're there's this saying, at least in English, which most of you will know, which is no news is good news. That's bullshit. That's not how people think. The idea is, if you haven't heard something from a long lost relative or whatever, probably everything's fine. Well, that might be true. But when it comes down to a boss or a manager, if they haven't heard from you, mostly their mind goes to negatives. And if you doubt this, just think about how you think about other people. If you can't see what they're doing, or even if you look at your boss and you can't understand what your boss is doing, you quickly assume a bunch of negative explanations. She must be planning a layoff. She's in budget cuts. She's favoring her special friend. She's about to give all the good assignments to that other person. For better or for worse, we are naturally suspicious and we go to negative explanations first. So if you're remote, it's important to be visible. And that's why I say video, and it's also important to stand out and be positive. And that's just to allay those suspicions. Now, once you build a reputation, you're fine. All right. Okay. We'll go on to the next question. Do you think work from anywhere works as well as work from home? Probably not, but it depends on the person, okay? And it depends on where anywhere is. I believe it's probably very hard to work from anywhere from a club in Miami Beach or fill in the party town in your country. It is possible, and some people truly have the discipline to work from anywhere. But work from home, you can have a setup, an office, a quiet area, and there is a difference. Are you working from somewhere that is set up to be your workplace and it's just not an office? Or are you working from your world tour as you try and do the very minimum? This is a place where I differ with Timothy Ferriss and the 4-Hour Work Week. Tim Ferriss is amazing. If you haven't read that book, The 4-Hour Work Week, I recommend reading it. But make no mistake, he's recommending how to cheat your employer and do as little work as possible and get away with as much as you can. He puts some papering words over it, no, I don't mean that, but he does. He basically means how to get paid as much as possible while not actually working, if you can get away with it. That's a perspective, but it's not one that pays off unless you're a brilliant entrepreneur who actually is going to go found your own company. I agree with him when he goes back to founding a company. But if you take the advice, like how can I sneak around and look like I'm working when I'm not, eventually employers will catch on to that. Now, this question, if you truly can work from a beach, God bless you, please do. And I and others will be happy to hire you as a productive employee from a beach, from a mountain, from anywhere you can be productive. But homes are usually easier. All right, I've beaten that to death. The other questions don't have much for votes. So I'm going to challenge people to vote real quick because we're doing an impromptu stream. I'm not going to drag out a lot given our late start. What else do you want to know about working from home or about what I think is the more appropriate, powerful topic, recognizing key moments where something in your environment has changed and stepping up? So I've told a bunch of stories on this stream before about disasters that happened to me. Sometimes a disaster happens and you have no chance to plan. I'm going to give you a chance to vote, which some of you are doing. Great, thank you. And I'll answer those questions. But sometimes a disaster happens and you have to respond in a minute. So I've talked about being on stage and the speech goes wrong and the demo breaks and you're holding the microphone. There is no chance to plan in that circumstance. You have to wing it. That's not what I'm talking about. But I've also told stories about, for example, needing to go meet Jeff Bezos after I broke something and talk to him about it. In a case like that, you can make a choice realizing you're at a key moment and go figure out what you want to do and how you want to show up. Similarly, we've had services go down because I work in a technical capacity, or we've had things go wrong for customers. In a situation like that, you have a chance to decide, am I going to work all night and lead from the front, or am I going to delegate to one of my people and go home and sleep and not be the leader, not be there with my team? Am I going to fetch coffee and buy donuts and support the team? Or am I going to be like, hey, you guys got it, I'll see you in the morning? Years ago, we were on a crunch time project, for example, and my team was running Scrum and people weren't finishing their work each day. And so I said, look, I'd like to have a new policy for a couple sprints. Most of you know Agile. If you don't, that's okay. Where if your work isn't done, I will stay with you and I will go get you dinner while you finish. And what I was showing was, look, anytime any member of the team is not done with their work, I will stay late. But any team member who's done can go. And if each member of the team is late a different day, I will end up staying and working late every day that week. And they'll only stay when their stuff isn't done. So you lead from the front. But that kind of stepping up sets an example. So what I'm getting at is we have a chance to set an example. All right, I'm going to take these questions. Thank you all for voting. You killed it. Great job. Do you find there is an ideal balance of how many days people work from home versus required to be in the office? General answer, yes, and I'll explain that. Specific answer, no. Some people can work remotely all the time. In an ideal work environment, no one is required to be in the office necessarily if they can get their work done. Now, for someone like me, as a manager, it's harder. There was a question earlier about managing remote employees. It's a lot easier to manage people you see. So, for example, I often work from home on Fridays. And I try not to schedule one-on-ones on Friday because I can do them by video. But that's not nearly as good as doing them live, right? One in person if you have that choice. So I try to avoid that and put the important meetings on those days. So answering this question, because I said, yes, there's a general balance. If you live near an office where you can come in, I think working from home is easy to do 1 to 2 days a week to drive your productivity up, and you push all your meetings to the other days. And then the 3 or possibly 4 days you come in and do all the meetings and interaction work. But the key is really, it's how much you can establish effective working relationships. Because I've totally seen people who live remote for an office. They fly in and they're in the office a whole week, once a month or once a quarter. They build all the relationships. They go out to all the lunches. They get to know everyone. They understand the policies. And then they're super effective remote the other 3 weeks a month. So this question of an ideal balance, I think the easiest pattern is if people are remote 1 or 2 days a week. Imagine a workplace where everyone had work from home Friday. It would be real easy to understand. We're all in the office all week. Then everybody goes home on Friday or Monday or whatever the day is. And they get more done. They don't have the commute. They have the isolated time. But everyone gets practiced at it. One of the things that's really hard right now, that's effed up, is remote work is so random. Some people get to do it some do it none. Nobody knows what to expect. And there's very few norms set around it. There's not norms on that everyone can predict, and that makes working remote harder. Is there an ideal balance? I think maybe, but it really comes down to how good some people need to be in an office, either for their job tasks or their personality. They actually prefer it, and some don't. So that's my answer. All right, sweet. And it's true. We don't do politics here. So, all right. Because of my personality, I often feel like I have to work harder to prove my value while working remotely. Do you think this is a healthy concern, or would you argue that I should do good work and trust it is being noticed without adding? So I talked about this a little earlier when it came through in chat. The truth is, you probably do have to work a little bit harder to prove your value while working remote. And I talked about that. Out of sight, out of mind. There's actually good research that shows that there are 3 things that cause people to distance themselves cognitively. We'll see if I can remember all of these. But there are 3 things that cause us to devalue relationships, people, and your work. One of them is separation in distance, which this is a case of. The further away we are from something, the less real it is to us. The second one is separation in time. So the further away something is in time, like it happened last year, the less we value it. And the third is separation basically in mental model or complexity. And I'm not sure I recalled all those correctly. But the basic point is, the further away things are from our own context and our here and now moment is less we value it. And so I suggest that in a case like this, someone earlier said maybe this question is self-serving. The reality is you do have to understand that, I've said this before, we judge ourselves by our intentions and everyone else by their actions. No one keeps as good a score of how we're doing at our jobs than we ourselves do. So this is my point. You're working remotely. You're working hard. you take 100% credit for that. You know you worked hard today, that you didn't miss a minute. You were on every meeting. You were on every email. You notice every email and how quickly you answered it, and every Slack message and how quickly you answered it. And whatever it is you do, every contract you reviewed, every deal you closed, every bug you closed, you keep perfect score because it's your life. No one else keeps as good a score as you do. And if you don't think this is true, and you've ever been in a dating relationship or you're married, just think about your relationship with your significant other. Whenever you do something good for your significant other, you break your arm patting yourself on the back for how good you were at it. Whether it's you put the toilet seat down, or you picked up your dirty socks, or you did the dishes, or you brought in the mail, you can't wait to get that arm up there and start patting yourself on the back. You keep perfect score. But your significant other may not notice that you picked your socks up. Why? Because he or she expected that you were going to pick your socks up anyway. And all they know is the socks were in the hamper. So they have no idea of knowing whether you first threw them on the floor and then were like, oh, right, he hates that, so I'm going to put them in the right place. They have no idea. So they can't keep perfect score the way you do. So the point is, same is true at work. You keep perfect score of how great of a worker you are. Your boss and peers don't see that, and they're interested in them, not you. And so they don't care to keep perfect score. But what that means is some of your work gets missed. So if you're remote, you have to do a little bit just to make sure that that your key contributions are well communicated. It doesn't mean brag. It doesn't mean a bunch of stuff. It just means stay in good communication. It's that simple. And we have other remote managers here. That's totally fine. And by the way, I love it. The mods banned some idiots. Thank you. Ban the idiots. We don't need them. We have a big stream of good people. Feel free. We warned them first. That was fair. Danana, thank you. Liger, we probably would only time you out. It would take a lot to get you banned. All right, sweet. Next question. Any suggestions for managing teams remote when the core team is not in my location? That's hard. I have a friend. It's Plus David, right? Our producer and others. They're actually they are remote from the majority of their team. V for Vrini, welcome. I love all the viewers, by the way. I say this before, I'll say it again because Vrinny's from Sweden. I love all the viewers from around the world. I've made friends all around the world doing this. It's fantastic. There are people in every country I hope to travel to, in every city I'm going to go to. And it's so awesome to have a global community. So you're all welcome. Canada, awesome. Yeah, feel free to sound off. If you're not in the U.S. or you're not from the U.S., it's totally good. Obviously, I'm in Seattle, epicenter of America's version of coronavirus for the moment. And that was kind of what led us to talk about working from home earlier today. But look, I love the people who are from everywhere. Young Clips from Russia, Perpetual White Belt India, guested Saskatchewan. Oh, we have a bunch of Canadians, which is great. Love it. I was just at Whistler skiing. Ottawa. Home of my favorite sport. I am an ice hockey player. I love it. I can talk hockey all day. Maybe we'll have to do the all hockey stream sometime. This is not that stream, but with so many Canadians, I could have a blast doing it. I wish, someday maybe we'll have rights to the, I would love to do a restream of a playoff game. But going back to this question, managing remote teams when my core team is not in my location. It's all the same stuff about building relationship, but it's hard if you're outside. So if you're a lone manager and the core team is not in your location, travel to them. Nothing beats face-to-face. Second, have an advocate there. Figure out one person you can rely on to speak for you and not to rat people out, but to tell you about the concerns of the team and the vibe and things that are coming up that you may not know about. You need an information source. And I'm not saying have a rat. That's not what I mean. I'm saying have someone an informant. I'm saying have someone who tells you what's going on. I love it. Liger's naming off all the good Swedish players. That's awesome. Minnesota, basically Canada. So true. Zachag, I'm from originally where Miami of Ohio is, so we have college hockey too. Pashi, welcome. I haven't seen you before. Good to see you here. All right, so any other suggestions? I don't know. Sean123, if you're still here, do you have any comments on this or anyone else? I'll rely on some of the other managers. Any suggestions for managing teams remote when my core team is not my location? Basically, build trust, communicate. Look, it's a lot easier to communicate in person. So if you're remote, you have to way plus up how much effort and thought you put into communication. Because, look, humans evolved, or if you prefer, we descended from space aliens. However we got here, we started out with our only communication mechanism being face-to-face and the chieftain or whatever getting up on a rock and shouting. And so that's how we're wired. And so remote makes that all way harder. And so you have to compensate for not being in that situation because we're all wired for face-to-face live communication, which is what makes Twitch cool. Live platform. Pashi brings the Twitch Prime back. Celebrates the drink of the week. There's a tiny bit left. I'm going to finish it. Limoncello is the drink of the week. Great drink out of Italy. Love to go to the island of Capri where they have these huge lemons, like almost football size. They're not that big, baseball size. Great lemons. They make limoncello. All right. We have a couple more questions with a lot of votes. Let's hit them. And then I'm going to go have dinner. Do you find one-on-ones are less successfully done remotely? Sure. Again, body language. Humans were made for face-to-face contact. So someone will try and convince me that everything is easier or that things are better remote for communication. I don't know how that could be true. It can be okay. It can be good. But we have thousands of years of evolution. Or if you prefer, thousands of years of societal expectations around human face-to-face contact. And now you're suddenly going to make that remote? Humans have if you forget letter writing and telegraphs, 50 years maybe of figuring out how to do things over the phone, and now with video conference, we're getting better at it. But no, it's not going to be as effective. What you can do is make it a little better. There are things you can do to make it workable. So just because it's not as successful doesn't mean it can't work. So one-on-ones can be successfully done remotely. I just don't think it's as easy. But sometimes it can be. A lot of people wander in my office for a one-on-one without an agenda. Whereas remotely, people may think I need to be prepared. I'll send an agenda. So there are ways it can be better. Let's move on. Do introverts have a harder time working remote? Theoretically, they should really like working remote. I don't know. If anybody in chat wants to comment, please do. But do introverts have a harder time working remotely? Maybe. But I would think they would have an easier time because introverts, the normal definition I hear of introvert versus extrovert is an introvert finds relating to others and being around other people draining and that it takes energy. And an extrovert is energized by that same interaction. So if an introvert can spend a few hours in perfect isolation in a home office or a cafe with headphones on or wherever, working remotely, they may get enough more done that the extra effort of having to communicate that from a remote location is more than paid off. That would be my suspicion. So I would think some introverts would have an easier time working remotely. But if you're an introvert, speak up in chat. Like, feel free. We normally have planned chat participation. Tonight was both an effed up stream and impromptu. It was unplanned. So speak up and say it. Plus, David is an introvert. And as he says, he loves it, but you have to make sure you're overly communicative. Pallid Mist, I am also an ambivert. But a lot of people say that they're, I'm INTJ, right? So I see people putting up their Myers-Briggs. So Main Squad Agent says he's INTP. I'm INTJ, which is normal, right? Like, I'm so typecast. INTJ is both the most common for software developers and for executives. So what am I? A technical executive, and I'm INTJ. Surprise! And I've tested that way forever. Bottom line is, I think it's probably easier for introverts. These are good questions. Let's roll. Need the water because I had 2 rounds of limoncello because it was a tough start to the stream. I hate user error when it's me. I hate it. All right. Can you address those you suspect may be taking advantage of this? Especially, it's often family needs that spur need to work remote, which you want to respect. So, ideally, you work at a workplace where if you need to work remote because you have something going on with your family that day, you can be honest about it and say, look, I need some time today because we have a new toilet being installed. I've heard everything, by the way. New FOO installed, visit from FOO inspector or cable guy or whatever, doctor's appointment. There's an unlimited number of reasons why you may need to be out of the office. Ideally, you say why you need to be out and for how long, and then you get a lot of work done around that, and you do the rest of the work at night or the next day. Good bosses only care that you're productive and effective. And if you're that, I could give a fig when you work or how much you work as long as you produce according to your title, responsibilities, and what I'm paying you. I don't care when you work. But here's the thing. If you don't conform to Monday to Friday in the office between 9 and 5, and then it doesn't look like, and I use the word look like very carefully, it doesn't look like you're producing, then it's easy to blame you not being there as the reason. It's really easy to correlate Fred is not in the office. Fred must be not working because I don't see work coming from Fred. So that's where it bites you. I'm going to read some of the chat and then I'll say more about this. I might not catch you taking advantage the first or second time, but you'll be caught if your work is not done. Yeah, Sean123, totally true. I have let go of people working remote, but it had nothing to do with them working remote. I made clear it's because they're not doing work. Yes. 99% of the error is between the keyboard and the chair. Rockstar, that is an awesome comment. That is so funny and so true. Yeah. So the thing is, this question asks, and it's unclear in these questions the way we do it. Maybe someone means they need to work remote because they have a family situation, like a sick parent. So I've had some of my peers work remote for 6 months or a year because they had a dying or ill parent that they needed to take care of. Again, you should be able to be transparent about that. I need to work from home because my whatever is sick. The thing is, when you're trying to get a job, people will be afraid to hire you if they think you have a heavy outside commitment. That shouldn't be that way. But unless you can prove or you have references or you network in and people say, oh, yeah, Ethan's great, even though he works remote from whatever, let's Svalbard. Some of our people from the Nordics, right? Like if I'm working from Svalbard, real place, by the way, it's not just in the movie The Golden Compass, full of polar bears. If you're working remotely from somewhere, if you have someone to testify, oh, Ethan's reliable, even though he works from Svalbard, you'll still get hired and you can still do your work. But when people do use it to take advantage and they're not available, that gets remembered. That was the point I made earlier in the stream. When you start working remote, you're going to be measured and judged, and people are going to be watching. Can I trust you? And if you break that trust, they will remember. So being transparent is way better. All right, we got a couple more questions. This has been good. Everybody showed up, even though we had a late start to the stream. Thank you for being here. And if you haven't, please follow the stream. Please join our YouTube. Couple more good questions here. I'm going to go into speed mode and clear the questions. So deep breath. What are some of the key things missing from remote work that make working in person more productive? Ability to convey body language. Ability to just drop by. So if you can see someone, you can just drop by and you can tell when you're interrupting them. A lot of our productivity tools are great, like Slack or any chat system, but then they encourage people to get off into the social angle because like, oh, I'm just chatting. I've seen Slack systems become septic pools of people arguing with each other because if your team doesn't know each other and they don't really have trust and respect, or they grow to be large and not everybody's there, then the troll dynamics of the internet take over. And I have actually seen internal chat systems become vicious little pools of attacking each other, things you would never say in person. So what's missing is all the evolved dynamics of human interaction. Because again, we have 10,000 years or however many years you want to pick of evolved neural systems to regulate how mean we are to each other and how well we communicate to each other in person. And remotely, all that goes away, or it's diminished. It doesn't all go away, but it is diminished. And that causes people to behave badly. And so, it only takes one troll, just like we had to ban some idiots in chat here earlier tonight. And I love it. Yay, mods. Kill them all. We had to ban some bad people. That happens in a workplace because people will be rude remotely. And so that's what's missing. So what would be better? Another thing that's missing, by the way, is time zones. A lot of teams now are distributed all over the world. I managed a team in India. India is 11 and a half hours ahead of Seattle. So that's really hard. It means if we're going to have a call or we're going to get together, somebody is working outside of work hours. Because if I get up at 8 a.m., it's still 8 p.m. for them basically, or 7:30 and vice versa. And so I always thought if I could invent something that solved the time zone problem, I would be a billionaire. So, yeah. All right. Sweet. What are some of the key things missing? So it's social contract is what's missing. And then great tools that deal with time zone, that deal with knowing if someone's free. Like I can look over at your desk and see if your head's down working or if you kind of look like you can chat. Another thing I can do is I can join a conversation. If two of my coworkers are talking, I can see I should join that. But if they're chatting in two remote coworkers are slacking or chatting or whatever they're doing, I have no way to know. And so just all the human dynamics are missing. Doesn't mean we can't master as a species remote work. It means it needs more help and better tools. All right. Next question. If your company doesn't have a good way of quantifying sharing your work completed, how do you keep your manager informed of progress without spamming them? Ask them. Ask your manager, hey, I know I work remote. I want to be able to keep you up to date without annoying you. What is the best way to do that? It is a simple question. And we always have the managers here. Every time I pull this, I won't even do it this time. Every time I poll the managers in chat, people like Hephaestus, people like Sean123, and probably others, if you're Kristen, and I ask them, have your employees ever proactively asked you this question? They almost always answer no, or rarely, or one guy did once. Just ask. If your company doesn't have a good way to do it, just ask your manager, hey, I want to make sure you know what I'm up to. What's the best way to do that? It's that simple. All right, next. How do you lead from the front if your team is remote? So if Plus David's still here, he can chime in on that. Yeah, Snoopscape, you missed the drink of the day. We had it twice just to make sure we had it, and it was limoncello. How do you lead from in front if your team is remote? Number one, you go visit them. Your team will respect the effort you take traveling. So like when I was managing teams inside Twitch, which is largely based in San Francisco, I was spending 60 days a year in San Francisco, and I was working 12 to 14 hours those days because I was away from my family. So I would have one meeting at breakfast, and then I'd go all day, and then I'd have a long meeting over dinner with somebody. So I was going from, say, 8 a.m. for breakfast through, I don't know, 9 p.m. finishing a dinner, or 8 p.m. It's not about martyrdom of work. The point is, though, my team knew I was there. And so one way to lead from in front is to get with them. Not all the time, but when you're there, be there. Second, I was there so much I joked it was true. The hotel staff greeted me by name when I walked in the door. They're like, oh, hi, Mr. Evans. Welcome back. My team knew I was traveling a lot, which meant a personal sacrifice of some level. Now, it's not like they're like, oh, he travels. He's wonderful. That's not the point. The rest of the way, though, when you're remote, you lead from in front the same way you do any other time. You have to communicate to your team. So I challenged you and said, hey, if you're a remote worker, have you asked your boss how to keep them updated? Well, turn it around. If your team is remote, you need to ask your team, how would you like me to show up for you? And what is the best way for me to be available to you? Do you like to text? Do you want to use Slack? Do you want to do video conference? Do you want to have scheduled meetings or impromptu? Is it more important email? I'm available by text. Use my phone. It's all of those things. It's communicate to them. Look, here's a new rule for the channel. Almost anything I tell an employee to do, for you to grow your career, there's a mirror image thing a manager should be doing. So all this stuff I've said about employees communicating well in order to be good remote workers, if you're a remote manager, help the employee do that and communicate to them, look, I know you're remote. I know it's harder. What makes it easier for you to reach me? What makes it easiest for you to stay connected to the team? What makes it easiest for you to get a word in edgewise in our meetings where we're all in a room going back and forth? 100%, and I love Hephaestus caught onto this. Thank you for the implied compliment. If you're a manager, everything I say for an employee to do, think about as a manager, how do you make that easy and what is your reverse role? So, all right. Okay. Next question here. During a career transition, what are some good ways? And somebody's asking, by the way, can they get advice? Join our Discord, which we haven't spammed a bunch. We'll put it up in chat now. You can get advice either from me in our Discord or from our community if I'm not available. We have a great community of people there who answer all kinds of questions. Maybe our mods have stepped away for a minute. I'll do this. Sorry, folks. The Discord command is mod only, but we can probably change that. So there it is. During a career transition, what are some good ways to prove to a new employer you can do a job if you don't have direct experience in it, and especially you can do it remote. That's hard. You're basically setting yourself up for like 3 hard things at once. I want to change my career. I want to go to a new employer where I don't have experience, and I want to convince them I can do it remotely. Basically, candid answer, good effing luck. But you can do it. It's just going to take a miracle. One way I would try this, boy, how would I try this? I would make a deal with them in some form. I would say, try me out. I think I can do all this. I want you to bet on me. I need you. I will do it as a 3-month contract. No harm, no foul. Like, you're going to have to share in that risk. I would never is a long time. I would never bet on someone to do something they don't have experience in remotely. It's compounding my risk. Why bother? I can hire somebody right here, probably, who has experience, probably. So why would I bet on you? If you want me to take that bet, you've got to think about my risk and how you're going to manage it. And so you've got to try and make it risk-free. So say, look, I'll prove myself in a 1-month free internship, or I will sign a 3-month contract. And if it doesn't work out, you know you have an exit in 3 months. Those are the ways you reduce risk. Or you say, let me first take a job in what I know, and then I'd like to move to this. But you need some way to drive that down, drive down the risk. The other thing to do, though, is get experience in a local job first and then work for somebody remote. Like, divide up the risk. Prove one and then the other. So you're asking like a question. Sure, it's possible, because anything's possible, but it's really hard. As Harris 5 says, reverse the risk for the employer. We covered this question. We'll go on to the next one. Any tips on organizing your day when working from home? Is there a difference whether you're a business owner or an employee? So that's 2 questions. We'll answer them both quickly. Organizing your day is the same in this sense. Every morning you should figure out what's most important and do that first. So read the book, Eat That Frog, and follow it. The point of Eat That Frog is do the hardest thing first thing in the morning, earn your pay before noon, and the rest of the day is coasting. You can do a lot of other stuff with it, but get the most important thing done early. Second, given the problems of remote work, make sure you're available when your teammates need you. If you are going to sneak in doing some laundry or walking the dog or whatever it is you're going to do, make sure that does not impact your perceived quality of work and that you deliver value. Again, I don't care if you walk the dog as long as you're very productive. I don't care if you take a call laying on the lounger in your back deck as long as you're productive. But organize your day around actually accomplishing things. Is there a difference whether you're a business owner or an employee? Sure. Owners can get away with more because they don't have anybody judging them. Employees are employed, and so your appearances matter more. Because while a business owner probably won't be successful if his team thinks he's ignoring them, they will be less likely to question the boss. But employees, you've got to look productive. You're paid to do work. You don't have to just look productive. You have to actually be productive. Next question. What are some good questions to ask my manager during a one-on-one? Oh, whoever you are, you're serving me up a softball. I talk about the magic loop all the time, but no stream is complete without the magic loop. The magic loop is 1, do your job well. 2, go ask your boss how you can help them, which is a great question to ask during a one-on-one. 3, when they tell you how you can help them, do it. Do it well. 4, go back and ask your manager, hey, I would like to keep helping you, but in a way that's in line with my career. Can you give me an assignment in this direction or that direction? Can you give me a stretch challenge? Can you tell me something you think would grow my career and I can help you in that area? So that's another great question for a one-on-one. 5, do that thing and repeat. Super simple. So those are great questions asked during a one-on-one. Another great question is, how can I improve? Is there anything I need to do differently? But how can I help you? How can I improve? Those 2 questions are music to a leader's ears. What are key moments when starting a job, or particularly an internship? Anytime you start a job is a chance to make a first impression. This is Ewan continuing a sub. That's great. Appreciate that very much. The gift sub you got. Key moments. Starting a job is a great time. The very most important thing is figure out how to deliver something of value right away. And for a software internship, that means start fixing bugs, delivering code, shipping something, knocking off things on the Scrum list. Deliver value. That's the number one key moment. The second thing is build that relationship with peers and managers. I'm going to do a whole show on this, but my wife and I were talking about it. I'm going to do a whole show tongue-in-cheek about bribery, not real bribes, but how much you can get done by buying t-shirts if you're a manager or food. But you don't have to be a manager to do this. I give this example. If you go talk to someone and say, look, I really want to relate to you and I want you to like me and help me out and think well of me in an internship and guide me. And what I need you to do, I need you to do this and I want to give you $3. Would you do that for $3? You'll insult people and no one will do that. But if you buy them coffee, hey, would you come out for coffee? Could we talk over coffee? And you treat them to a $3 or maybe it's $5 if you're at Starbucks, to a $5 latte, you will buy so much more goodwill than you ever could for $5 actual dollars. So those are a couple key moments. For those of you who joined late, this idea is careers have key moments. You work every day, you do good work every day. That's great. That's important. But when there's a crisis, when there's a leadership transition, when there's a budget problem, when a project is behind schedule, doesn't matter what job you have, if you save a project that's behind schedule, you will be noticed and remembered. All right, Pentaquant, that was super nice of you to gift 5 subs, and you hit a bunch of people who are, you not only completed the hype train, so anybody can get in and get their free emotes, scam train or not, the hype train is complete. But Pentaquant, you hit a bunch of people and made them subs who are continual supporters and members of the community. Ethernight, Perpetual White Belt. These are people. Thank you for doing that. How do we collect emotes? You have to have donated something. Other people can explain it to you, but to collect the emote, you have to have spent 100 bits or gifted a sub or subbed yourself, basically. So other people can explain Hype Train. Oh, wow. Utmost Ownage. All right. So I will say thank you, Utmost Ownage, for the 5 gift subs. You're awesome as well. Assuming that we get a new emote slot unlocked. I don't know. Danana, are you still here? Our emote designer was here earlier. See, there's Think Banhammer with his 100 bits. Fear of missing out is a real thing. So there come the 100-bit cheers. All the hidden Oilers. If we do get a new emote slot, I will have our artist. How many subs are needed? I haven't actually looked. I'm sorry. But this has got to be getting us close. Someone else probably can check how many sub points you need for each emote slot. I don't want to do it while I'm on stream. See, I got my level 5 hype train emote, so I can share that. That's great. There's my choo-choo. That's so ridiculous. You got to admit this stuff is funny, but we've had 26 subs and 200 bits in the hype train. So if we get a new slot, we will use it though for a magic loop, since that's what the question was. And yes, we donate proceeds to Washington Trails Association. Actually, I'm on the philanthropy the philanthropy. That's a big word. I'm on the philanthropy committee, and we're meeting tomorrow night. So I talk all the time about what we do on Twitch, and it's awesome. Okay, moving on. I covered software internship and what to do. How do you ask your manager or boss for freedom to be more creative? Steps 1, 2, and 3. Make sure you're doing what they need you to do well. So I gave the magic loop. I guess since I called it step 1, do your job well, it's step 1, parts A, B, and C, do it well. But as NVA Hitch says, earn it. Earn the chance to be more creative. Now, how do you do that? It's in the magic loop, right? It's right there. I'll give it to you again. Do your job well. Ask your boss how you can help them. Do whatever they ask. Step 4, ask them, how can I help you in a way that allows me to be more creative? What can I do that the team needs that allows me to be more creative? My browser froze, but nobody else is complaining. So I'm going to ignore my frozen stream. Ask in that way. Once you're delivering and once you've shown you can step up and help, say, look, I would like to be more creative in this way or that way. What do you have? What challenge do you have that will let me do that? If you've helped me, I will bend over backwards to find work that I still need that meets your goals. And if you have a boss that doesn't do that after you step up, go somewhere else. All right, last question, only because this stream got a lot longer than I planned. I'm a new grad that is having a hard time finding my first job in the UX industry. I rarely get responses other than being ghosted or instantly rejected. Any advice? I am not UX. Somebody asked, what is UX? Liger asks. User experience. So first, you should be in super hot demand. So it may be how you're approaching it, because there is a shortage of user experience professionals. Second, Fluid Soul is right. Keep building your portfolio. Have something to show. But consider joining our Discord, sharing your portfolio as well as your resume, and ask the community, and looking at the streams Devin Nash and I have already done on how to interview well, because there is a huge shortage of user experience professionals. And so if you're having trouble there, I would say there's something wrong in your job hunting approach. Yeah. MS Moonsong, my first question is, what's wrong with your resume? All right. So sweet. We've answered all the questions. You can join our Discord and get it answered there. Meanwhile, so here's Discord. Look, this has been an awesome informal stream. It had a rocky start. Totally user error on my part. Someone had a funny comment, might have been Rockstar, that 99% of the problem exists between the chair and the keyboard. That was certainly true for me tonight. But you guys turned out. We had a ton of subs. We had our first hype train ever on this channel. All right, I've been on 2 hours after a bad start. I'm going to call it a night. You people are fantastic. If you're going to work from home, use that opportunity to make a great impression. If you have any key moment in your career where something changes and it gives you an opportunity, think through, can I do a little extra and be part of the solution to this problem? You will be remembered. It's a set of key moments and key decisions that makes a career as much as what you do every day. Now, it doesn't mean that you can screw off the rest of the time. You earn a baseline every day, but you earn the right. It's like this saying, you make your own luck. You have to make your own luck. That means earning your way into position to be lucky. Okay? The saying, make your own luck, means you did the hard work to be in a position to be lucky, right? There's so many sayings about this, right? But that opportunity knocks for those who work hard. There's a lot of variations of it. It's got to be both. But when those moments to shine show up, make sure you're leaning in and you're part of the solution. If you want to speed run your career, which is what we talk about here, when opportunity does knock, answer the door. And I think for a lot of us, a sudden change in work environment, a lot of you are students. If you're a student, I don't know why that's not working. Maybe we shortened it. There we go. You boob. That's why it wasn't working, because you boob isn't a command. Look, a lot of you are students, and if it happens that your school asks you to stay home from classes, I don't know if it will or not, you can either use all that time to lay around and drink beer or whatever it is you do, or you can use some of it to think about how to advance your career, how to do better in classes, how you can use, not all the time, by the way, I am completely into recreation time, but use some of the time to capture a new opportunity. Don't just lay around and vegetate. Don't just potato. All right. So look, I'm done for tonight. I'm signing off. You've been fantastic. I hope to see you Thursday at 4 with Devin and I and Brian, Pacific time. And I hope to see you Sunday for a regular stream here. Sunday at 6. All right. Sweet. Thank you very much. Good night. Cheers. Oh, one other thing. Stay safe. I'm not an expert on safety. You have Liger here for that. He's already talked in our Discord some about coronavirus because he works with real corona patients. It's wash your hands, get enough sleep. It's all the basic stuff. Okay, the masks won't help you. But yeah, I'll put up our Discord again, and we'll change that command sometime to be open to the public so anybody can get it. But here's our Discord. Join our Discord. Liger's already talked some about it. Wear a helmet. I'm not sure about that. But be safe, okay? I'm here in Ground Zero, where I think all the U.S. deaths so far, sadly, have been in Washington. We're going to stay safe here, and we want you all to do the same. So be safe around the world. Cheers and good night.